I'll go over our journey over the last 3 years, talked about what we've done, why we've done it, and really focusing on what we've had to do to keep the organisation at pace with the business. As we grow, what do we have to do to keep our organisation and our resources in sync with the business? Before I do that, there's a little bit of audience participation, always like that, get to know you a little bit more. So I'm the Chief Operating Officer for a software company, so how many of you here are in IT? Bit few names, right? There we go, you guys in there. So good. Project management? Yeah, we'll get back to you later, that's for sure. So how many of you, like me, earn your living pimping out resource by the hour? Yeah, strange enough, you don't get, you get one hand, there you go. That's the business here, or as my friend will say, legalised people trafficking. I look after the consultancy side of our business. I look after the resources that we use to make our money as a consultancy tip. Which is a challenge, because they're also the biggest cost of our business. Having resource on the payroll, as you add to that, as you grow, you've got to make the right decisions about when you recruit, when you don't recruit, and what are those people doing. Which brings me nicely to the title of my presentation, which is Visibility and Control, Managing a Growing Professional Services Team. Now, if that didn't send you to sleep, I swear to God. Alright, so when I thought about that, I really wanted to call it that. Because 3 years ago, when I started my journey with KCS, that's what I found. I had no clue as to what my team were doing, where they were, what they were occupied in, what they were doing every day of every hour of every day. It was a real challenge, and we had to do something about that because, as I said, in terms of the balance sheet, the overhead of carrying too much resource, or even not enough, in terms of losing opportunity, was huge for us. And I really started to ask questions about what we were going to do as a business. What could we actually do to get me more visibility? I look back, and I remember on my first day, I've got a demanding boss. My CEO was pretty demanding, so he gave me a honeymoon period of, say, about 4 hours. So I turn up in the morning, and in the afternoon he wants, I want a forecast. Give me a forecast. So I think, I can do that. I've worked for software companies before. I can go to speak to my PMO, which was one person at that time, and I'm going to get a forecast. So all I wanted was a forecast of what my people were doing, the revenue they were generating for the next 30 days. So Fern is her name, great girl, and I said to Fern, I said, right Fern, you don't know him, you've got him a new boss, good luck with that. Give me a forecast. I want to know what we're doing for the next 30 days. So yeah, I'll be right with you. So I go back to my little office, and I'm sitting there and I'm waiting with anticipation. I'm waiting, and minutes turns to hours. Hours sort of turns into a little bit of the afternoon, and a little bit into the evening. I think, right, okay, look, it's day one here. I'll cut the girl a break. So I wander back out into the office and say, Fern, come on, where's the forecast? And before you answer that, what are you doing? And she was there, she had a pencil. And a pencil and a rubber on the end of it. And she was tapping her screen. I could see it, didn't it? And she did. And I went over, she was stood on her shoulder. She was counting boxes on that. And these were entries on every single individual consultant that I had that she was going through as a bit of paper. And she was saying, Fred's there, and it's 3 hours, and Bert's there, and it's 2 hours, and then he also think about Sesame Street in me, but you know, that was 30 minutes, and she was adding up. And got me thinking, my mission, because my boss told me, or he was my new boss, was to scale this business, was to make this business scalable. And I've got someone counting boxes. Now, it doesn't matter whether or not I'm running a professional services team of consultants, or whether or not they are your labour, whether or not they are your resources that you're using in the office. You've got to have visibility and quick visibility of what your people are doing. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. I think there's a little bit of time for Q&A at the end, if you're still awake, so we'll see how that goes. So we'll rattle on. So what do I do? It's all about, for me, managing expectations. I'm not wonder about, alright, I don't understand what I'm left turns, and I've got this my thing anyway. It's all about managing expectations, internal and external. So I've got two sets of customers. I've got the board of KCS, and I'll come back to KCS in the journey shortly. And I've got our customers that come to me and expect me to meet their demands for resource. So to me, it's all about managing expectations. Now, from a client perspective, and all you project managers in there, you'll all recognise this slide, I'm sure. That's me, that's the client. Mind you, I think that was when I actually had hair, by the way, that was 3 years ago before I joined KCS. And that's the client, and of course their expectations are they want the world. And you as project managers that all put their hand up, I'm sure you're used to that. I'm also managing budgetary expectations from the client as well, about how much our resources cost, what we're doing for them. So there's a brief, they want everything, and that's what they're willing to pay for on the right-hand side. You're familiar with that model, right? So me understanding where my resources are and making best use of those resources, it cuts both ways, both internally and externally. Internally, I've got to report to my management team, or my board, because I'm a member of the board at KCS, and my board members, to say, how am I measuring revenue versus cost? How am I balancing cost versus the revenue I'm getting in? I can't count boxes on Outlook to get that. Equally, with my customer base, and we've got over 200 customers at KCS, I've got to facilitate their need. I've got to meet the demands of the customers. If I can't do that, then very slowly they'll start to trickle away and find a company that can do that. So I needed to get visibility of what we were doing, how we were doing it, and why we were doing it. I've actually got a simple job. As the operations director for KCS, my job is really simple. That's the two things I have to do. I have to convert orders into cash, so we take orders from customers, and I have to deliver a customer reference. So if I do that, I'm actually doing my job. I'm keeping our customers happy, going back to what I was saying earlier, in terms of making sure that we can supply the resource for those guys at the right time, then the customer's going to be happy with me. In terms of converting orders into cash, again, that's the flip side. As a business, we're in the business of making money, as I'm sure all you guys are as well. And it's important to understand how we get our revenue. So if we take an order from a customer, I can't do anything with that order unless I've got the resource in place to actually manage that expectation. So I have to convert that order into hard-earned cash. And again, I couldn't rely on, if you like, manual-based systems for me to be able to do that. We get an email from the organisers here saying, don't do the hard sell, and we sit here. I'm not here to sell you an ERP system, you'll be pleased to hear, unless anybody really wants one, right? That's not my job here today. But what is important is I'll give you a context of the journey that KCS has been on, so you can see why we've had to make certain changes as a business. Now, KCS is a relatively young company. Kerridge Commercial Systems, only 4 years old, just over 4 years old now. But we've got 30 years worth of heritage. So we're born out of a company that was in the mid-70s, most of you, I think, are probably still around, maybe youngsters in the 70s. I've been around a fair while. We were then owned by an American international company. So we were kind of in a very small cog in a very big wheel. So process and procedures didn't really matter. You could get away with a certain amount of inefficiency. In 2011, when we did the management buyout from ADP, it became really apparent very quickly that we had to get a handle on our costs. We had to do that. So we were lucky, I'll come on to this number, a very loyal customer base. But we were then left with what was then 150 odd employees in 2011. And the thing became hard. If you're running a company with 150 employees, you suddenly start taking a real forensic view on your costs and what you're doing, particularly if a third of those employees are consultants and project managers, which ours were. So these are the people that will earn the money, if you like, over and above the software license that we sell. So it started to become more and more important for us to get a handle on resource and what we were doing. In terms of the business, we're growing as well from a geographical perspective. So it's not just a UK company getting bigger. We're actually widening our remit. We've got a business in South Africa. We made 2 acquisitions in the UK. That's really when you start to think about what you're doing as a business, because you're inheriting new culture as well. And I'll come back to culture, and I'll come back to change later in the presentation. It's really important when we're talking about resource management, I believe. We've also recently developing a distributor network. So distributor in Malta, distributor in Dubai, we're talking to some guys in the States now, and also in Botswana. I won't go over the Botswana story of why it's a hot spot of ERP person, but it actually is a growing market there tonight. So we're very present in South African region. But it's important for the context, again, I'm painting a picture of growth and of change as a business. So, in terms of where we are, like these graphs, because they go the right way. From FY10, you can see we were just over a £10 million turnover company. FY14, we're going to probably move towards, we're just doing the accounts now, about £30 million company. We've gone from 100 employees now to about 340 employees. So again, when we keep coming back to the message, managing your resource and where they are and what they're doing is really important. We're signing new customers regularly, which means our consultancy resource is again growing. My team has grown threefold in the past 3 years. So we're actually talking about the 11 new customers and 12 new customers, and this year 20 new customers. We're expecting that to continue to increase over the next 12 months to 24 to 36 months. The project managers are revolting. That's like one of those eat shoots and leaves, right? Yeah. I better explain that at that point. They were angry because they were fed up with not being able to deliver their projects. They were the guys, and I've got a lot of admiration for PMs, by the way, because generally they're the guys that get the flack. They're the ones that unhappy customers want to kick first. Right, I'm paying £1,000 a day for you, if that's your rate. I'm just picking that one out randomly there. £1,000 a day for you, and you are not delivering. You personally, chest poke, I'm sure the PMs in the room had that. And they weren't delivering because I couldn't support them. I couldn't support them with the resource that they needed. I couldn't support them with the visibility they needed. Most customers, I'm pretty sure you'll agree, delivering no news is the worst thing. Delivering nothing at all is the worst thing you can do. Most customers are reasonable enough that if you've got foresight and you've got your hands around a problem, you can actually deliver bad news. You can say, I can't do it for you then, but I can do it for you then. Okay, they will live with that. If you just say, no, I can't do it, but I'm not sure when I can do it, that's a bad news story for customers. And that's the kind of situation we're in. The PMs were increasingly coming to me with, come on, you've got to do something here. We're frontline staff, and you're not supported, you're not doing your job. So I had to do that, and it was important that I did. So in terms of digging a little bit deeper in terms of the resource, I'm not going to go through all those. These slides will be available for you, but I'm pretty sure a lot of you will have the same sort of symptoms. But hopefully that's why you're here listening to me today as to what we're doing. But visibility to me, that was number one. What are we doing? Please someone just tell me what we're doing so I know whether or not I'm adding value, not adding value, or whether or not I've got staff literally sitting around doing nothing. Let me account for them. Let me account for their time so I know what's happening. Really important. Not only KPIs. KPIs are a pipe dream for me. No KPIs. Just get through month by month with one KPI. I've also got a job at the end of the month. That was a great KPI for me. In terms of task-orientated work, and again, project managers and me, you're all about starting there and finishing there. This resource will be great. Do that. I didn't know whether or not my consultancy team was taking twice as long, half as long. I didn't know who the skilled people were, whether or not they were working 115% utilisation, because they're offsetting guys working 30% utilisation, getting away with it. I didn't know that. So I couldn't make those informed decisions, and that was important. We were growing. I had guys using Excel. We acquired 2 businesses, they weren't using anything. That was just good luck and a little bit of hope. hope is never a strategy, right? For a project management team, I run resources. Hope is never a strategy, but we were living on it, and we had 2 acquisitions. We had different processes of resource management. We didn't know whether or not we were running on a 222 day year. We didn't know whether we were on a 7.5-hour day, 6-hour day, 8-hour days. Oh, we were charging some people by the half day, some people by the hour. It was ugly, and a lot of this was all manual. It was time consuming, it was labour intensive, which meant, again, when I'm strategically looking for what I want to do for the next 3 to 5 years, all I'm thinking about is adding headcount. Give me more people to get more Excel out and get more calculators out and things like that. And it just wasn't going to work. So all the targets, improve efficiency, improve utilisation, improve performance, improve control. I had to do that. So what I was actually doing at that point wouldn't even support the business that I was currently in. So it was failing. My part of the business was failing to meet that size business. It certainly couldn't support anything like scalability. It couldn't do that. If we had this vision as we have now of 100 million pound turnover in 3 years' time. We're at 30 now, we expect to be 100 in 3 years' time. We've got 340 employees today, we expect to have 1,000 in 3 years' time. So it had to be scalable. Anything I had to do had to scale the business, and it currently wasn't. We anticipated we were going to acquire somewhere between 5 and 10 businesses in the next 3 years. So again, I need processes and procedures I can roll out really quickly. I don't want to start inheriting businesses and managing resource and just inheriting inefficiency. I've got to try and get efficiency measures built in from day one. As I mentioned earlier, we are having international partners that we have to support with consultancy. Again, we have a firm, they're quite, again, we work with international partners. They can be quite demanding because they're obviously isolated, they're trying to build up their own pipeline, they're running their own projects, they want resource, like now, today, please. And that's important for me to support those guys, so that's really what we need to do. Operational leverage, all familiar with that? It's a buzzword for our boardroom at the moment, getting more out of what you've got today. Yeah? There's a lot of lectures on operational leverage, and it's something that we are really trying to work on. Which is not to say that we're trying to flog people and really get them to work a day and a half. It is that working smarter, understanding what people are doing, so we think, actually that person needs a bit of training because they can't do that particular function. If we train that individual, I'll get a little bit more out of him. He'll get more job satisfaction. So, operational leverage is my buzzword at the moment in the business, and it's pounds per head. The revenue per head that we are achieving as a business is really crucial. What we found is, everything we were focusing on, because you can imagine I was kind of trapped in my own world. I was trapped in operations. But what we quickly realised is the issues that I faced were actually facing other areas of the business. It's important it's important for you guys. Again, I don't know all the businesses you're in. But you might be here representing a part of your business because you think the problem lies in your area. But what we realised was that resource management goes beyond that. And we had a huge R&D department that, whilst they weren't out on the road and they were slightly more hidden, they were backwards, don't let developers out, right? You just lock them away and leave them to do their thing. We actually found that we weren't sure whether we were efficient in that area as well. So quickly the problem, I managed to kind of grow the problem, if you like, and perhaps take a little bit of the heat away from me. So also include other areas of the business. So we realised that it wasn't just an operational problem, it was also a bit more of a company-wide problem for us about resource management. So we started to look as a business a bit broader about what we wanted to do. So we had to select something, right? We had to go down a route to say we needed technology. We're a technology company, and I stand in front of people and we sell our wares, and we sell it in based on the benefit that customers can get from deploying our product called K8. But we can articulate very easily what benefits you're going to get. So what I really liked about this was suddenly someone as an operations director of a software company could suddenly become the customer. which was great for me. I'm used to getting the kicking, right, from all the customers about their projects. Now I could actually choose some software. Boy, oh boy, did I make the most of that, I can tell you that. So the project board was assembled with key users and exec sponsor. I was like that, I'm the exec sponsor, me. I wanted to be the exec sponsor. I wanted my little moment in the sun, just away from me getting the kicking. I wanted a poacher turned gamekeeper time, right? So what do? We had to assemble a project board with key users and exec sponsor. Key users were important, and I'll come back to why later on. I need to know a business case. Whilst I could be very rhetorical about my issues and my problems, it was really important that we locked it down. Now, I was very fortunate. I had someone who worked for me, and I'm embarrassed, which is Fiona, sat over there. Wave Fiona, there you go, who enjoys writing business cases. Wasn't my thing. She spent a lot of time doing analysis of what benefit we could get from using technology to support my issues. And if I give you any advice, if you're embarked on any IT project and you're buying technology, know why you're doing it. I know it's a dumbass thing to say, but I can't tell you, a number of people that I speak to who say, we need an ERP product, why? Well, we kind of do. Yeah, but why? What do you expect to get out of it? Well, this, that, the other. Yeah, great. You really do need to know why you're doing it and what problem you think you are solving, because you might embark on a project, you might solve a problem, it might not be the one that you thought you had. So really spend time looking at a business case, which we did. Do your investigation, take your time on looking at what's out there. I'm pleased to say we did come here. So if you're here looking for something similar, this is actually where we started, because we had no idea what could support us and what solutions are out there to really help us. So we did attend this place a few years ago, and it proved to be very useful. So hopefully you'll too, if you've been here 2 days, but hopefully you'll enjoy it if you're here for today as well. We always wanted to come back to, and Fiona did a great job of this, of reminding me of why we were doing it. Kept bringing me back, said, oh yeah, but look at that over there. No, we're going to fix this thing. So always stick to the path that you have decided. Otherwise, the scope group starts to get in, and I was looking for all sorts of stuff to do. So it's really important about that. Get a supplier shortlist, which we did. Did demos, yada yada. Did I put them through the ringer? Did I ever? Which was great, because I could just sit there and say, yeah, that's what I say. That's what I say. Yeah, cut to the chase. Tell me where your problems are. And get to a final selection. Turning my head back to my life in KCS, a number of times I tell them, don't go bespoke, don't write any code, just let the standard product do it, right? But we actually picked a product that we could actually tweak a little bit as well, which was important to us, because we did have some pretty unique requirements that we wanted to adopt, and they were pretty good like that. Reporting. I don't know how many companies say, oh yeah, it's really good, hundreds of reports. I use one. Hydra tell me that they can do thousands of reports. I use one. All I see is my visibility of what we're doing going forward. That's all that matters to me now. And I'll say to them, I use white blocks, white spaces. White spaces means that something isn't happening on that day. So I can challenge why something isn't happening. I've got visibility 3 to 6 months out now of my business using the product. And that's, it's nirvana for me. And that's just a one report. Really simple, really clear, and most important of all, real time. So now I don't get tapped on screen, I can go out to furnishes, I know you're going to ask for what's on your desk, and I get a report instantly on that day, twice a day due to updates, but I can get pretty much a real-time report of what I'm doing as a business. Good. I'm going to take a little diversion for 5 minutes, because you've got some project managers in here, and you've got business. I'm just going to talk about project success. You can refer this to my project with Hydra, or you can look at it, if you're embarking on any sort of project, this is my approach to a project. Okay, this is the Alan Cross method, if you like. It's not about Prince 2, okay, this is about some of the things that I think you need to have in place if you're embarking on any type of project. So in terms of project definition, is it fact and understood? I refer to that. Does you as a customer, or does the customer know what they're getting into? Do they understand that? Are they aware of what they are doing, and why they are doing it, and what the benefits are going to be gleaned from that project? This is one of the number one problems I've faced with projects, executive visibility. You know, the guy that signs a check on a project tends to disappear. The FD, the MD, or me in terms of Hydra, sign the project and disappear. Executive visibility, you've got to be there. You've got to be present. I was throughout the whole of this project, and I was encouraging anyone that's delivering or implementing my software, you know, there's someone from the executive that's always there and always available. So make sure that that's always in place. In terms of any implementation project of technology, how many projects have you been involved in where you've had unrealistic timelines that you signed up to as a PM or as a business? You've got to stop it. And you've got to challenge the client or challenge yourself to say, you're not going to be able to go live then, you're not going to be able to achieve what you want in that time scale. And I'm sure, I saw a few nods, it's true, people want to go live then, they want to do something then. Why then? Well, it's quick, that means you're out my way. But really what you want to be is realistic. Who's involved in the project, timelines, Christmas involved, Easter, all that type of stuff that you all know. But I can't tell a number of projects have failed due to unrealistic timelines. Communication is important. The one that I'm going to really refer to here is internal. Internal communication is so vital. If you're embarking on any technology project, talk to the people who are going to be impacted by it. It will not be the board. If it's someone on the board, it will tend to be a report they get. But the guys on our Hydra project were the consultants. They were the ones that were day-to-day impacted by the project. So we involved them. We got them involved in the project. So they knew what was happening, why it was happening, and what the outcomes of that project would be. Costs. Again, we're preaching to convert here. Do you know what the costs are, and can you control them? In terms of skilled staff, and motivation available. That works both ways. One of the things I did like about Hydra is they knew their apples, they knew their product very well, they knew how I could deploy it in my business. I like that. They could talk my language, they talked to me, not at me. I like that. They took some stick from me along the way, and they reacted well to that. I like that as well. Okay? They were motivated to do a good job for me, and my team internally, Fiona led the team, were motivated to get the job done as well. Really important that you do that, and to make sure they're available, of course. Because generally, if you're doing a technology project, you're not pulling people out of your business if they've all got day jobs. Quality is really important. In terms of process, that is really important. You can have a real ugly process, and you put a bit of technology on there, all you do is put lipstick on a pig. You're still going to have an ugly process. Whenever you're deploying technology, take the opportunity to look at how you're doing it. Don't just put a nice gleamy, sparky bit of software on something that's ugly. It doesn't fit. So while you're going through the process of deploying technology, look at how you do things. It's crucial. Change management. Here's a statement. As an IT provider, I never embark on a software implementation project. Discuss. We'll talk about that for hours, right? The implementation of software is purely a byproduct of someone's decision to change the way they do things. Therefore, it's always a change management project. First and foremost is a change management project. And I maintain that if you don't adopt that approach, the project will fail. Because you are changing, you're doing things in a slightly different way, therefore you're adopting different processes, it will impact the staff in your business. Okay, so always take the view, first and foremost, as a change management project. There we go, a little digression, a little bit of, as your project managers in there, just a little bit of Aaron Cross's view on life. I'll whistle through this. We implemented Hydra at our pace. Okay, we did it at our pace, starting in Hungerford and moving across the business, including the businesses that we acquired. Our plan was to have, at the outset, 60 users. You see we're already at 218, so they are growing with us for sure. That just gives you a little bit of a timeline of what we did. We did take it slowly because we wanted to assess the impact of the change on the business, which was important because we were growing at the time, we couldn't have a major distraction. And Hydra worked really well with us in that regard. They didn't push us too hard and responded to us when we needed to, which was good. So, some of the benefits that we've adopted now. You can read that. I mean, this is perhaps some of the things you'd expect me to say, but it really is. I'm going to pick out the visibility out of that slide there. That was so crucial for me. So crucial for me in terms of understanding what I was doing and how I was doing it. It was really crucial. You can understand that. Some tips in terms of technology deployment. Don't overstretch yourself. Start small, grow. Most software companies will work with you in that regard. They will push you generally, they want you to exploit everything, they'll come up with their box of tricks, you can do this, you can do that. Stop. Just tackle the problems you want to tackle first and foremost. Have an owner. Pick someone who has a passion for the work. I did, it's Fiona. She liked this sort of thing, mad woman she is. So I let her loose on it, which is great. So she was very passionate about delivering a project for me. In terms of the Hydra project, and it came back to the culture really of the business, and the culture of anyone's business. Anytime we start looking at resource management and resource planning and time, and so the first instant reaction you will get from your staff will be, oh bloody hell, it's been trouble. You know, oh, he wants to know more. Well, why? What do you think I'm doing? I'm working for you. Why do you want me to account for my 8 hours a day? Oh, actually, don't be afraid to say, well, you'll account for it. I want to know what you're up to. I want to know whether or not we need more of you. Take it on a positive spin rather than a negative one. Do I need more staff to do the job that you're doing now? Are you overworked? A lot more people in my business were overworked. We had real cause for concern about burnout. And understanding and seeing time recorded showed me that I had people running at 120% utilisation. It's not a good place to be. It's all right for little pigs. It's not a good place to be long term. You will burn staff out. So that's important. Beware of report and overdose. I said that. It's report relaxed here. Don't get a big kit back. Find out what's really important to you and just work with that. I'm a simple guy, right? I'm surrounded by very intelligent people at work. I'm not that. Okay, I rely on them. But all I want is my little pretty picture that tells me we're doing okay. And I can get that really quickly out of Hydra, which is really important to me. Select software that suits your culture and stick to it. Like I said, I like these guys. I like them, they suited me. They suited the sort of guy that I am and the sort of ops team that I was running, which is important. Don't be afraid to test yourself 12 months in. We're about 24 months in now, and we test ourselves. We get Hydra back in and find out whether or not we're doing the right things. And they're good like that. They come in, charge me a few bob. I don't mind that because they give me the experience and the expertise. And don't be afraid to seek out advice from someone. Even if they're not in your market, it's interesting to get different views on how they're using software. So I'm getting towards the end now. I know I'm running a little bit late, but we'll get some Q&A. So, now in 2014, where am I? Can I have a forecast, please? Yep. Can I have it real time, across my business, and the best thing of all is accurate between plus and minus 5%. Fantastic, and that's from the start of the month to the end. So I've still got lots of white spaces and stuff that I'm worried about. My team use Hydra, gives me an accurate forecast of my business and what I'm doing. It's great. Everything took so long. I reckon as we go on our journey, that we can scale and achieve 55% more bookings using the same number of staff right now. Instead of that loading on people to manage that, I reckon that I can do a 55% uplift. I know that, that's my forecast for this financial year. I'm expecting 55% more bookings this financial year than I had last year. Big project on the horizon, right? I'm going to do that in Hydra. I made a no headcount at all. Double bookings, none. Very simple, 0. See if we've implemented it, great. I can look both ways now. I don't have a rear view mirror effect now. I can focus on the front. What do I need to do going forward? What's my plans? I can start thinking strategically as a board member rather than tactically as an ops director. I was managing my business hand to mouth. I now get performance visibility. I know I'm making informed decisions about my business. It makes me feel a lot more confident, I can tell you that, about my business. And I don't feel so weak now, because I'm actually rocking up to the boardroom now with pretty powerful information. I like that. My boss doesn't shout at me anymore, which is really good. And I feel that I'm ready for the adventure ahead. I feel I'm prepared now for whatever's going to happen in the next 3 years. It's really exciting that I'm prepared. The project managers are still revolting. They're not happier. They're a lot happier. I don't get them knocking on my door anymore, moaning about resource availability, capability, because we're managing skill sets in the system now as well. So we know who's available, when they're available. Well, I'm Alan Cross. It's been a real pleasure talking to you. Thanks for staying awake. I didn't see anyone nodding, so well done. I'm going to be probably lurking around the Hydra stand for the next sort of 30 minutes. If you want to come and grab me, talk to me, I'm more than happy to talk about this project or anything else that you're involved in at KCS. Thank you for your attention and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much.